From the central coast of New South Wales, Australia, it's the #1 podcast for the X-Men animated series. This is Generation X-Men with Bender and Brooksy.
Yes, welcome back. Thanks, Steve. This is Generation X-Men. I'm Bender, and with me as always is Brooksy.
Hey, hey.
Like the name suggests, we are Generation X-Men, and you are too. If you're new to this, what we'll be doing is going through all 5 seasons of X-Men the animated series, one episode at a time, giving you our thoughts, X-Quiz, tally time, and most importantly, having a laugh as well. Now, kicking the new year off with Repo Man, a title I'm not sure I understood as a kid, but now I get that the Vindicator's more or less doing the repossessing, but it's not really just about Wolverine and Vindicator in this episode. Maybe X-Men Origins Wolverine is a stronger title for this one. I would have liked something maybe along the lines of that as a title instead of Repo Man, because I think that's really narrowing down the title. Okay, you're looking for this one character, maybe called the Repo Man. Well, a bit too grown up of a title for kids to understand, maybe.
What about how Wolverine got his shirt?
How Wolverine got his claws back? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of alternates there. But a bit of background about the episode. It was written by Wolverine creator Len Wein, which is pretty cool, I think. He got a chance to have a crack at the animated version of the retelling of Wolverine's origins, which I imagine was a bit of a cool little challenge for him to do.
Yeah.
Just explain it in a more of a streamlined way while also introducing other characters. Do you remember much about this episode, Brooksy? Because as I was watching it again tonight, beat for beat, I could almost remember what line was coming, what next action beat was. So was this a rewatch episode for you?
From my childhood, the main thing is the Weapon X part where he got his claws. That comes straight back, and Puck.
Puck, because he's just crazy.
Because never seen anything else like old Puck.
It's very Canadian sort of X-Men mutant name to have. Like, who's next? Stick or blades or shoes, or those things, or ice skates. But anyway, we'll go into detail about that later. But now it's time for X-Quiz.
Pop quiz, Hotshot.
Pop quiz! Pop quiz, asshole.
Time for a surprise quiz.
Won't be a pop quiz on Wednesday. There's a pop quiz. Pop quiz.
So we're not very heavy on the old X-Quiz in this episode.
I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking that.
Yeah, there wasn't many little signs or any little things you could sort of pick up.
No little bric-a-brac that you could keep your eye out for. So I've got 2. Originally had 3. I'll throw the 3 out there anyway, but it's pretty an obvious one. How many you have?
I have a couple of what colour is this one?
No, I've got one. What colour is this? But I'll kick it off. In the episode, we're introduced to a character of Vindicator. What's his first name?
James.
It is James, which I thought is like, I don't know. It's like, I would have thought, like, would they have introduced his last name as well? Because there's a lot of James, don't do this. I thought, you again, James, and really rubbing it in, that sort of thing. But no last name. But yeah. It's pretty thin for X-Quiz, so I went with that one.
What colour are Heather's eyes?
I'll just throw it out there. Maybe they're blue.
No. Want to go another guess? Or?
Hazel.
No.
Green?
Green.
Oh. I wanted to say green, but I didn't say green as my first answer. I mean, I suppose Jean has blue eyes, so it couldn't have been blue. Anyway. Here's another colour question. When Wolverine is given his uniform by Vindicator, he doesn't have the X-Men symbols on it. He's just got a regular belt. What colour is the belt?
It's a brown belt with a buckle. That was one of my questions as well.
It was a brown belt with a buckle.
Because it makes sense. I'm like, hey, his belt's wrong, but he couldn't have X-Men belt.
Which I thought was pretty clever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you see other characters that are introduced that become X-Men that aren't currently X-Men, they have I think Bishop has an X-Men logo on his uniform, even though he's not an X-Man. They went away with that sort of thing, and I'm sure there's some other characters coming up that have the X logo on them, but they're not currently in the X roster or explained. But I thought it was real clever that they went with the brown belt just to change things up.
It didn't look good though. The red belt definitely matches.
It does have a nice accent. Colour to the rest of the uniform.
It could have just had a little H on the front. So that would have been cool. How about some of the Cerebro cameos? You got any of them?
I didn't write any of those down because I wasn't going to ask you that because chances are you were going to already know who the cameos were. And to be honest, as soon as that started, I stopped paying attention.
There's 7.
There's 7. I couldn't tell you any of them.
You can't tell me any?
No, because as soon as I see the first one pop up, I said, I won't need to look at this book, so he's going to write this down. So I couldn't tell you any. Nah, I got nothing. Was Deadpool in there?
No.
Damn it. They love going with Deadpool. So, yeah, I tap out.
So there's Domino.
All right. Close. I was close with the Deadpool guess.
There's Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
Archangel.
Right.
Cannonball.
Who's Cannonball?
Cannonball.
All right. I'll have to look him up later.
Psylocke. Quicksilver.
Oh, yeah, Quicksilver and his sister.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah, I think I might have saw Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. But I'll have to look up who's Cannonball now. Anyway.
You got any more?
I got one more. When Wolverine is captured and they're running tests on him, what sort of scan does Heather initiate on him?
Some sort of probe, something.
It is a probe, but it has a specific name.
Oh, it'd be in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, you got me.
It is a sensor scan.
A sensor scan?
Sensor scan initiated. I wrote that down because what the hell is a sensor scan? Normally it's a sensor that does the scan. So he's scanning for sensors in Wolverine. It just struck me as an odd one. I would have thought it would be like bone scan initiated or something like that. But no, it's a sensor scan. That's it for my X quiz.
I got one more.
All right. Hit me.
What colour is General Chasen's tie?
His tie, I know he had a red star on him. I wasn't paying attention to his tie. I think he would have had a yellow shirt, and did he have a brown tie? Or was it reversed?
It was orange.
Crap.
Yeah, the green jacket, yellow shirt, orange tie.
It's close. I was just trying to follow because they generally, they usually have the same sort of uniform colour scheme. Green, yellow, and whatever the tie colour is, but he went with orange. Neato.
Previously on X-Men.
So previously on X-Men, we get the Professor and Magneto when they had the fight with the dinosaur in the Savage Land.
Yeah, and we noticed a chipped tooth this time. You noticed it, but I saw it this time. I was like, oh, he did lose a tooth. Yeah. That was a good shot.
That's why he was pissed off. Kept chasing. And then we get all the flashbacks of pretty much everything Wolverine's ever done. It's like the Wolverine highlight reel.
Yeah, I was going to say this is like the best of Wolverine because it's like all these lines, all these being tough, all of his lonesome sort of things. Like they did when he pulls the cowl out in Antarctica or
Cold Vengeance.
Cold Vengeance, yeah, when he kills the Sentinel. This one's for you, Morph. And
Neither Sentinels.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of other cool shit.
Come the Apocalypse, Deadly Reunions, and all the stuff from
when he gets punted off that horse by War.
Big face runt couldn't take a joke.
Yeah, they got all these jokes and everything. All the action, they got it all.
It would have been really funny if they didn't have really sad music running underneath it. It's like, oh, this is great. Oh, I feel bad. So, yeah, pretty much a Wolverine-only showreel. But, yeah, it's time for the breakdown.
Break it down! Break it down!
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Breakdown. Where is she?
So today we are doing episode number 18 from Season 2, Episode 5, Repo Man. The original air date for this one was November 20, 1993. It was written, as we said before, by Len Wein and directed by Larry Houston.
On you, Larry.
So we start off with Wolverine. He's on a cliff in the bush and he's just screaming out, Heather!
Yeah, it's like, that will work. Just go to some random cliff and hope she's hanging out. Heather!
Is that a Canadian telephone call?
I think a Canadian telephone call would be a lot more polite. Excuse me, Heather, are you there?
So yeah, then the sun comes up and he's just still walking around just yelling out Heather.
Heather! That's what you do when you're a kid at your mate's place asking if they're allowed out to play. Brooksy, you allowed out to play?
Millhouse! So then out of the ground comes some like vines, sort of root sort of things.
Root attack.
And it starts to attack Wolverine. And then so we get our first claw draw here. So it cuts them away. And then the ground starts to shake and a man in a Canadian flag morph suit appears out of the ground.
It's a very apt description.
That's all he's wearing is the morph suit.
That's right. It's almost Canada Man.
Canada Man. So the Wolverine knows him. It's Vindicator.
It's a cool name.
Yeah,
I really like Vindicator.
It's a lot better than Canadian morph suit, man.
Probably under trademark by somebody else.
Vindicator says, "She didn't ask for you out here, Wolverine. I did."
Wolverine probably would have dropped his name because Wolverine has to drop every name of Alpha Flight here. Does he just start with Vindicator?
He does.
You may have deserted our team to work for Xavier, but you belong here. I've come to take you back. Yeah? You and what army?
Throughout the episode, they never really dive into why he left, which
No.
I thought they would have explained, but they sort of lay the seeds as to why he left, which we'll explain later. But anyway, they don't out and out say why he left.
So Wolverine's not fussed. He says, "Yeah, you and what army?"
I feel as though he says that a fair bit. You and what army?
He does, and he knows he's got an army too. Come on, Wolverine, just set yourself up. And we get his second claw draw here.
Oh, he's getting them in.
Already, yeah. We're making up for it this episode. you watch out. And then Puck from off screen says, "Funny you should ask." And then he balls up and hits Wolverine straight in the back. The old Puck attack.
Puck attack. Puck you, he should have said.
And then we pan over and we see all of Alpha Flight.
Mm.
So Alpha Flight is a group of mutants set up by the Canadian government with hopes that they could become the Canadian equivalent of the Avengers.
Oh, really? That's an interesting backstory. But I remember where Wolverine goes, Alpha Flight. And I'll drop some little own trivia on our listeners. When we did our first test for the podcast, which we haven't released yet because I haven't had a chance of editing it, we were talking about this episode and wondering what the name of the team was.
Yeah, we couldn't remember it.
We tried Omega Squad. I thought it was like Omega Squadron for some reason. Then we were going back and forth, and I said Omega Flight. And then we both looked at each other and clicked our fingers. Alpha Flight. That's it. That's who they are. But yeah, it's funny that we were talking about that on the first time we ever wanted to talk about the podcast. So sort of like hit like a milestone here, I reckon, or just a little come full circle. And we're finally up to Alpha Flight. That's pretty cool.
So I'll go through the members here. We've got Vindicator. That's James Hudson. He's the leader. He developed a suit of He developed a suit, so he's not a mutant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the suit can fly at supersonic speed and has concussive electromagnetic beams and a graviton beam.
Wow, so he is really a Tony Stark of Canada with the whole Avengers thing.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought he was a mutant.
Then we got the Shaman, who is Michael Tu Youngman.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Puck, Eugene Judd. Then you got Snowbird, Nerea.
Snowbird.
She's the one that changes in all the different Arctic animals.
Another animorph.
She can also fly. She's got healing and strength and post-cognition as well.
Oh, shit, she's all right. What's her name again?
Snowbird.
Snowbird. She's got a fair bit of powers.
I think she's the only one he doesn't say the name of.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Snowbird.
He doesn't say, hey, you can't Snowbird.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then you got North Star and Aurora, which is
right.
Jean Paul and Jean Marie.
The French Canadians.
Yes. They're the ones that do the high five and lightning.
Oh, that's right.
And they got flight and strength as well. And then you got the old Sasquatch, Walter Lankowski.
I had the Sasquatch Marvel Legends action figure.
You did?
Don't know where he went. I lost him during the move. I lost him and X-23.
Yeah.
And I think Iron Fist as well. I lost them in the move.
You lost so many figures.
I did. I lost a fair few, but I'm going to slowly getting them back. If anyone wants to donate to our Patreon, Patreon, I've lost it again.
Where's Neville asking?
Well, to our Patreon, I'll put another link. And also what I want to do, I want to set up a PayPal for Generation X-Men. If you feel like donating $1, it will be going to reimbursing it myself to purchasing some more X-Men action figures and other merchandise if you want to help us out, but really helping me out to get some more action figures. I'll be setting that up shortly.
Forget it, Vindicator. You can send every mutant in Canada after me. I ain't coming back.
Wolverine's got some good lines in his. Len Wein's looking after him.
Yeah, he does. And then Wolverine fights Alpha Flight, sort of one at a time, the usual.
Yeah.
So he knocks Puck into a tree, sort of avoids Sasquatch. He's got the big, the arms, and then he throws dirt at Snowbird.
Love a bit of dirt. And that grounds her too. She like hits the ground and then just turns back into human form.
And then he turns to Vindicator and says, "Your turn, Vindicator." And he gets his third claw draw in here. And Vindicator starts shooting like yellow beams out of his fist. This is the beams that he can shoot. And Wolverine manages to dodge the blast and jumps into the air and then kicks Vindicator in the chest with those both feet.
Yeah, he leads with the big missile drop kick, and that's like another one of his go-to moves. He stunned Omega Red with that one in the last episode. I like that move. Comes in with a double kick.
He says, "Lousy force field can't protect you forever." And then he sort of like tries to straight up stab him in the chest. So he just whoosh.
Yeah, man. I think that it's interesting that the writers have to keep finding a way for Wolverine to be able to stab people. Right? He's got this force field so he can stab and slash and the character's still protected. I think why he's trying to stab him, I imagine that the force field can only take so much stabbing before it shorts out. So that's why Wolverine probably not going for he probably knows this stab's not going to kill. It's just going to weaken the force field a bit.
So Vindicator gets in another blast here on Wolverine, blasts him away, and Wolverine turns it into a few flips, lands on his feet, and then does another claw draw here.
I was going to mention he does a fair bit of gymnastics in this one.
There's a lot of that, yeah. And then the old shaman jumps up in here, and he's like,
I am your friend, Wolverine. You know I will not harm you, but I cannot allow you to pass.
I'm warning you, Medicine Man. Don't make me move you.
So wait, is his name Shaman or Medicine Man?
It's both.
It's both.
Oh, no,
okay.
Yeah, it's Shaman. His name's Shaman. He just calls him Medicine Man.
I heard Medicine Man first, and I thought that was his name, and I thought Shaman was the piss take name. So I thought he's just taking the mickey out of him by calling him Shaman, but he's taking the mickey out of him by calling him Medicine Man.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read you now. I'm on board.
So then Puck comes in again with the ball attack trying to get Wolverine, but he grabs him, spins around, throws him at Sasquatch.
Yeah. It's at this point I wrote down, hey, Wolverine seems to be taking care of Alpha Flight pretty easily. They're not really a great Avengers team. But then I thought, okay, they're not trying to wipe him out. They're trying to take him alive. So that's when it started making a bit more sense to me. Like, okay, they're not trying really hard to kill Wolverine here. They're trying to subdue him without hurting him too bad.
So Shaman pulls this huge cane out of his satchel.
That should be a mutant power or a magic trick there.
He's got the magic bag. And then he nails it into the ground. This green beam flies out across towards Wolverine, and that's where the roots come out.
More
of the
root
ground.
attacks.
So yeah, this is where they came from originally with the ship.
People are like, that's where they come from.
He says, forget it, Shaman. Save your carnival tricks for the kiddie show. And then he just cuts his way out. Like, what are roots going to do? It's Wolverine, man.
Exactly.
Then we get a cool shot of Wolverine. Let me do it again.
No worries.
Then we get like this cool shot of Wolverine's face like through his claws. There seems to be a lot of these in this episode. They're really comic booky to me.
Right.
It looks like you're looking at a comic book. It's like that's what that shot's
It's got
from.
a good freeze frame to it. Oh, right. It could be like Len Wein might have had his hand in that. So can we get a lot more cool shots of Wolverine and looking through the blades like as an homage to the comics? Maybe. And
then Northstar and Aurora come from behind Wolverine, pick him up, carry him into the air. And Wolverine just grabs the pair by their heads and just knocks them together in the middle of the air and falls to the ground.
Yeah.
And then he catches himself in a tree. And so Puck and everyone run around and he's like, oh, he should be here, eh?
That's right, he finishes there. Just to let everybody know they're still Canadian.
Vindicator tells Alpha Flight to fan out and find Wolverine as the lab is expecting him. So when Wolverine hears the word lab, he starts to remember back to the last time he was in a lab.
I think he says something along the lines, I've had my share of labs or something like that.
He's had his fill of labs.
There we go.
So this is where we get the Wolverine flashback to the Weapon X project. Now this to me was what I remember mainly as a kid. This is the episode that you see where Wolverine got his skeleton from.
That's right. And I think they use it a couple of other times also on Wolverine-centric episodes, but this is the first time we see him getting the Weapon X helmet on and in the tube.
Yeah, he's in this big tube of water. He's got the Weapon X helmet on, and he's got that mask as well.
Yeah, the breathing thing.
And we see all they say he's the professor, and that's Kenji Oyama. We see him a bit later on. He's Yuriko's dad.
Right, yeah.
So we get all that story later. But for now, I don't think they mentioned his name like once, called the professor. And he's next to the tube, and he asks, Dr. Cornelius. Dr. Abraham Cornelius.
Oh.
And he's in the other room. He's all shadowed out.
Yeah.
Dr. Cornelius, how is our patient?
Could be better, Professor. He put up some resistance when our boys picked him up last night.
I think we see that in a later episode as well. I think Wolverine, Weapon X lies and videotape. I think that's when we see the boys try to pick him up at the bar and knock him out or whatever. That's a nice little foreshadowing.
So they begin the adamantium feed, which seems to be like all these bands that are around his body.
Yeah, all the adamantium bands are wrapped around him, just on the outside of him. So at this point, you're sort of as a kid, you're wondering, how are they gonna, or when you first time you see it, how are they gonna get the adamantium on his arm into his bones? So we will see that shortly.
Yeah, so they put these like tubes up to either side of the tube and like shoot this beam out at him. That sort of seems to melt or it dissolves into his skin.
Yeah, that's right. I think there was like a bit of a whirlwind started in the pool, sort of just to shake things up, and then the lightning comes in and the adamantium just goes absorbed into his skin, because I can't imagine. Anyway, I think it's like an interesting PG children's way of showing the adamantium getting fused with his bones, because it can't very well have all the syringes and the needles go into him and pump all that liquid adamantium into him, which what they did in the movies, which I thought was a pretty neat way of doing it. Something I would have never have thought, because as a kid, I'm not that creative, thinking, how did they get the adamantium in? I didn't read the comics, so I don't know how that was portrayed either. So the only two ways I know is through this osmosis process or the liquid adamantium being pumped into him.
So then we get like a voiceover here of sort of, they're just saying all different, like cardio attack rising, and then the feed is impeded. And he's like, he's resisting. And there's like adamantium reservoirs drained, absorption process complete. So then there's sort of a grid of Wolverine. He's spinning around, and it's like flashing red where all the adamantium's gone into his body.
Yeah, they're showing a lot of the science behind it and all the monitors and all that sort of techno jargon when he's getting all the adamantium infused into his bones.
And then the professor walks up to the glass and he's asked how he is, and Wolverine sort of growls at him.
I don't like that the character's called the professor, because we already have another professor.
That's right.
Just call him. I would have just called him the Doctor or something like that. But anyway, carry on.
So he sort of explains that his skeleton has been infused with a rare metal called adamantium, which is virtually indestructible.
Yeah, he's holding up that little bar.
Yeah, he pulls out a little bar from his jacket. It just looks like gold. I thought it would have been cool if they changed the colour of it.
Like a shiny silver or something.
Yeah, because like you remember in the movie, it's like that silvery sort of.
It's got that shine on it.
Yeah, it looks cool, I think.
Because when you see his claws come out, they're not gold. They're like white.
Exactly. Yeah. So Wolverine in the tank now goes, his hands are itchy.
What have you done, Tom?
And then we get the first ever claw draw from Wolverine.
That's right.
That's the fifth one of the episode. And it seems to really hurt Wolverine every time.
When they come out, does it hurt? And this is, in this part of the history of X-Men, this is pre-Bone Claw storyline. So Wolverine's unaware of his claws being implanted in, which I always like watching back now. It's like, now that I know that there was bones underneath and he had claws, why would he be sort of scared of the metal claws coming out? Which... it's a good sort of moment in the show. Like, he was totally unaware that he had claws, and it's a really horrific sort of scene if you think about it. But now knowing that the retconned history that Wolverine had bone claws, this scene sort of plays as like it sort of dates the animated series as being this is pre-Bone Claw storyline.
Also, he doesn't have those little parts on the back of his hand.
Yeah, those little silver holster things for when the blades come out, because they're around all the time when he doesn't have the gloves.
Yeah.
So
you thought they probably should have been part of it. They probably just forgot about it, really.
yeah, I mean, I think they may have designed themselves into a corner. I think. Always thought that those little caps or thimbles, whatever you want to call them, were part of Wolverine's gloves. But that's not the case. They sort of appear and disappear depending on how close attention everyone's paying to it.
Yeah, every time he's doing work around the place, so he's got gloves off. Yeah, it's still done there.
Still got those little caps on.
So this professor dude now, he's like, oh, extraordinary! I never imagined. Like, what did you never imagine? This is exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, that the claws would pop out. Yeah. Maybe he was had a different. He was going to finish his thought on something else, but Wolverine slashes at the containment jar, tube, whatever.
So then Wolverine slices through the tube at the professor, and the professor says to Cornelius to increase the sedative drip, but he's too late. Wolverine smashes out a glass tube, and then sort of takes over a few of the security guards before starting to destroy the lab.
Yeah, he's pissed off.
And the old professor guy just takes off, shuts the door, and between him and the lab, and Wolverine just starts clawing at the door, trying to get through. And then the wall just explodes to the back of it, so he just decides, I'll just take off into the night. And then he runs out of there before the lab starts exploding. Did you notice all the scientist guys run out of the lab just before it totally explodes?
Yeah, I saw that. I think people are in mind like, hey, there can't be any like civilian casualties as Wolverine's responsible for the deaths of dozen employees. So they had them breaking out. And I thought, well, at this point, Wolverine's already very comfortable with his claws. He's already using them to break shit. And I thought that was pretty cool that there was like an intuition that he had that, hey, if I've got these claws and they're pretty sharp, I'm going to use them straight away.
So cut back to Wolverine, he's still in the tree, and he says, no more labs. And then we get a claw draw where he crosses the claws in front of his face. That's what I'm talking about, those sort of shots where they look very comic booky to me.
Yeah, I'll mention I'll write that down, like, no more labs. And then, that was just there just to be cool. And that button on the scene and on his lines.
No more labs.
So this is where we cut to Jean, and she's using Cerebro. I guess she's searching for the professor. And this is where we get all those
all the
cameos of all the guys that we said before. And Cyclops, Gambit, and Rogue are watching on, but she still doesn't find the old professor.
No.
Then we go straight back to Canada, and Wolverine's still in the tree, and the old shaman sort of notices him there. So he uses his powers to sort of shake the tree.
He sends out a little orb. He channels a little orb and sends it into the tree, and I think that makes the tree sort of grow and rise and shakes Wolverine out of the tree.
And then when Wolverine dismounts, he turns that into that big gymnastics routine.
Yeah, that's right. A front salt, front handspring.
And then Vindicator nails him in the back.
Always getting it in the back.
So many dog shots.
So many coward hits.
Especially lately. There's just been heaps of them. Just bang, straight in the back.
It's funny when Omega Red got it in the back.
No, Sinister in the back was even better.
That's the best one. That's the best dog shot ever. That's the best one.
So Alpha Flight sort of surrounds Wolverine here. And they use some sort of power to keep him down and he gets like another claw drawer in. And then Sasquatch just nails him in the back.
Yeah, the big hammer drop on him like that, with the Sentinel did to Magneto in Final Decision.
Yeah, boom, big hammer fist. And then they sort of levitate Wolverine back up, put the shackles on him. And then he says to Vindicator that he won't work for him. And why are they doing this? And Vindicator says, we don't want you, my old friend. Only the secret you keep inside you. So then Wolverine comes to, and he's strapped to a table, shirtless.
I wrote that too, shirtless Wolverine again.
How many times does this happen? We should be counting this.
I know, probably should have started a tally.
Even in the X-Men movies, he wakes up shirtless. It's just, Wolverine, this is what you do.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just something that always seems to happen. It's like at least his He's shirtless with the gloves and the mask removed. Like in Red Dawn, he was shirtless, but he had the gloves and his mask still on, which is a little.
That looked more weird.
That looked even more weird, but we should start a tally on shirtless Wolverine or waking up shirtless. That's something we found out last episode. Is always waking up shirtless.
Yeah. So he threatens Vindicator to let him up, and he says that he's not in charge here. And then this is when Heather walks into the door.
Bloody Heather.
Says that she's sorry, but she didn't have a choice.
And this is the first time we see Heather, right?
Yeah.
Green eyes and red hair.
Yep.
I mean, you always look at, as a kid, you'd see like these little bios of Wolverine. Height, 5'3", weight, blah, blah, blah. Strengths, he's got healing factor and adamantium claws. Under weaknesses, it should just be red-headed women.
Sucker for a redhead.
Weaknesses, sucker for a redhead, because that's how he always seems to get got. That's his downfall, and it's hinted at later why he left the group, and we'll wait till we get up to that part before I talk about it.
Wolverine says you always have a choice, and you're not the one. You're the one who taught me that. So this is when we get this leads into the flashback of Wolverine. He's just coming out of the lab, and this is when he runs into Heather and James.
So that's Wolverine's going through the forest, lurking around, being a feral sort of guy, and then he sees like a deer walking by, and then he also spots Heather and James that look like they're hunting deer.
Yeah, I think he's just angry at that. You think that's what they were going for?
I think maybe he's sort of one with nature now, and he's like caring for deer.
Or you reckon he was hunting that deer too, and he's like, "Oh, these bastards gonna take my fucking deer."
Could have been that, but I want to know. James said he was tracking the deer, and they all had tranquilizer.
Yeah, he's like,
guns.
"Oh, that's our buck." It's like, what, you come back every year and shoot the same buck?
Yeah, it's like, was it something that they released in the woods and it's a friend of theirs, or it used to be a pet deer, and they're just bringing it in for like I don't know, a bag and tag or whatever. So it's all a very confusing scene. But anyway, Wolverine jumps on and denies them their buck hunt.
Yeah. They're big buck hunter. And so he's sort of wrestling with James, and Heather then puts 2 tranquilizers in his back.
Yeah, it tranks him.
So when Wolverine comes to again, he's tied to a bed, as usual. And he's shirtless.
He's shirtless. Well, he's pantsless in it as well. Was it just 2 tranks? Because when we were watching it, you dropped a line. Was it from Ace Ventura 3 or something?
Ace Ventura and Nature Calls. 3 darts is too much.
But it was only 2.
It was only 2.
Oh, okay.
Hey!
I just keep thinking of every time someone got darted, like in old school when you stuck a dart in the neck, man. And then I was thinking, when the bear attacks in The Simpsons, puts the dart in, sweet dreams, Smokey, accidentally shoots Barney.
1 count of being a bear.
Book 'em, Lou.
So yeah, I wrote here that Wolverine wakes up and he's strapped to something else, so he must be scared of going to sleep. Every time he wakes up, he's strapped to some other bed. Not again.
Someone's knocked off his shirt. Man, that is a recurring theme. He's always wakes up and he's always strapped to something.
And shirtless.
And they don't want him. They don't want him moving around.
So he gets his 8th claw draw in here, and sort of cuts off the ropes that they use to tie him down. Like,
yeah, the ropes were all over like Gulliver's Travels. It's not just around his arms and body. They're everywhere. Arms, legs, feet.
So he threatens Heather, who manages to sort of talk him down, and then Wolverine starts crying here.
She's almost doing like the Crocodile Dundee calm down, like he put on an animal, but she's just talking him down.
Mind over matter.
Yeah. And then he eventually breaks down saying, why did they do this? Because they're not explaining it, but he has no recollections of what happened.
Old Bushman's trick. Like going on up with that one too.
Yeah.
So then we sort of get this comedy montage of Wolverine trying to be normal, learning to be back social. And Heather sort of bandages up his hands, which don't have any injuries. Like, why are they bandaging his hands?
Yeah.
And then he just claw draws straight through him, number 9. And then she said, is she teaching him to read? Did he forget to read? Or never learned to read? Or
maybe she's saying, oh, we're in Canada. Here it is on the map of...
Oh, she's teaching him French.
Oh, it could be that too. But you notice in this shot here, when she's being nice to him, bandaging his hand, teaching him how to read, you see him look over at her with a smile. And he'll finally answer why he left Alpha Flight. I think Wolverine had the hots for Heather. She might have come to him and said, okay, look, I can't, I'm with James. And this time he's left the group because of her. And that's why he's not explaining it to Vindicator later on. But does he just go from random superhero group to superhero group, finding the hot redhead, falling in love, and then having to leave the group? Because I think he's stuck here at the X-Men with the same sort of reason. He should be leaving.
Yes, that's what he does. So the other part of this montage is his origin of his flannel.
Yeah.
That's all we see Vindicator do in this flashback. He just looks in his suitcase. Oh, here's a yellow flannel. Because who wears a fucking yellow flannel?
A bright yellow flannel. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is more or less X-Men Origins Wolverine, but in the animated form. You see his claws, you see...
Instead of the jacket, he gets the flannel.
It would have been cooler if he had a cooler jacket. That's one thing they did right in the Origins movie.
Oh, let's not get started on that movie yet.
I don't hate it that much.
So then Heather and Vindicator take Wolverine to Department H at the Canadian government agency run by General Chasen.
Yeah.
So Department H is an enforcement arm, and its enforcement arm, Alpha Flight, were created to offer a useful, patriotic outlet for Canadians with special abilities.
So that's pretty good. I mean, that's a good way of recruiting people, much more rather than a sinister way. Like, I don't know. This is a very friendly sort of setting up the friendly Canadian government.
Oh, yeah. Another origin here. Wolverine gets his costume.
Yes, another thing that's explained, which is also just handed to him by Vindicator, right? So, hey, join the team. Here's the uniform. I was thinking, what if Wolverine didn't like the colour or the design? This is what I'm stuck with? Why can't I just wear my jeans and singlet?
Maybe he wanted to wear black leather.
Yeah. The jumpsuits.
So he says that he'll join on 2 conditions. He says, find out who did this to me. Does another claw draw, number 10. And then he walks into the bathroom, doesn't close the door, just starts changing. And he comes out and he says, forget all that Weapon X stuff. Just call me Wolverine. So he had that one loaded as well, did he? Or
he just had that
come to him?
One in the bag. Wasn't named after Kwei Kuwatsu. The sky spirit who fell in love with the moon.
The trickster.
You remember more about it than I do.
I do.
Cuckoo Kachu got screwed.
I've seen all those movies, too many times.
So, yeah, we'll have to get into it one day, but
we will.
X-Men Origins I didn't hate as much as everybody else did. I mean, I thought it was more entertaining than The Wolverine, the sequel to that one.
I didn't enjoy that either.
Yeah, I wasn't vibing that one. That's just boring. The only thing that shocked me in that was when he got his adamantium claws cut off. That shocked the shit out of me. I did not see that coming at all.
I didn't enjoy that.
Whoa, his fucking claws are gone. How's he going to get them back on?
That's one of those fucking superhero movies. Take the superhero's powers off him. I don't want to watch it now. It's not a superhero movie. Just a normal guy walking around getting sick. I don't care. And what he did now, he cut his claws off. Now he's got nothing. That's why I don't like that movie.
All right. I like that movie because it's just boring.
So we cut back now to the present part. We're back to X-Men, Tassie.
Yeah. Back to the animated series. Just call me Wolverine.
So we're back in the present day where Wolverine feels that Heather's betrayed him. And she explains that she had to do it for national security.
Oh.
And this is when General Chasen walks in and asks, did he think he could hide forever? And then he says they need Wolverine to find out how he survived the adamantium process, as they have tried again and had less than encouraging results. And also they spend a lot of money on him and they expect a return.
Do you think it would have been... Is Jason supposed to be William Stryker here? Because I haven't checked the comic books. I don't know what research you've done, but I think it would have made more sense to make him William Stryker. Again, if we're going off the movies, Jason is the name of Stryker's kid. It's
Chasen.
Chasen?
Yeah.
Who? What?
General Chasen.
Oh, his name's Chasen.
Yes.
Oh, that's even stranger. Chasen. So Chasen's his last name?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I survived it because I'm a mutant, you dimwit. I heal fast, remember?
Like, it is exactly why he did it, because he's a mutant, you idiot Chasen. Like,
If you want the adamantium to work, put it in other mutants like Wolverine.
it has a healing factor.
Like Sabretooth.
And then Chasen just says, oh, maybe. But there's only one way to be certain. I'm sure there's another way to be certain, mate. Like, come on. It's not just one way.
They don't make a lot of smart army men in this cartoon. They're always just very thick-headed, very narrow vision. Single-minded. Just cut him up. That's the only way we're going to find out. Cut him up.
And Heather then says that she only agreed if she was the one that could do the testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vindicator starts getting all shitty here. And he's like, because Wolverine abandoned Alpha Flight. And he asks Wolverine, why did he leave? And he says, it's none of your bleeding business.
I'm thinking that Vindicator must have thought that they were best friends, and Wolverine's just annoyed by him. And because
I gave you a shirt. What are you doing?
I gave you a shirt and uniform and everything. You just leave? You just leave, bruh? This is not on. I was like, he must have thought they were really close buds.
So at this point in the episode, we decide to go to the Savage Land.
Yes. We got to remind everybody that something's happening in the Savage Land.
And we got Magneto and the Professor, and they're walking across an Indiana Jones bridge. The only thing that was missing was the music.
The only thing that's missing is the music and the... Yeah.
So they get to the end, they hear, halt, trespasser. And this blonde woman in this crazy design dress with these blue gloves is standing right in front of
The
them.
psychedelic hippie Heather Graham in Austin Powers Spy Shag Me.
That is exactly who it is.
What's Felicity Shagwell?
Shag very well.
Groovy.
It's Vertigo.
That's who it really is. And she sounds a lot older when we first see her compared to when we see her in later episodes.
Yeah. And she has the psionic equilibrium distortion. That's her powers.
Very complicated power.
Yeah, because her power is a name. She gives people vertigo. So the professor asks who she is and what she wants. And Vertigo says, ask your companion. All the mutates of the Savage Land are of Magneto's creation. And we now follow a new master.
Seems as though she pretty much gave the answer, but just said that at the start. Just to put Magneto in it. Throw Magneto under the bus.
And the professor says he's confused. And then Magneto says, it doesn't matter now. Yes, it does matter, Magneto.
We're in the Savage Land.
What the hell happened? Tell me more about this. So Vertigo tells them to surrender. And the professor just tries to reason with her. So then she just, that's it. Hits him with the powers. That's it. You've had enough. And so they make a break for it back across the bridge. And as they're moving across the bridge, as the professor sort of loses his balance and falls over the edge, Magneto manages to come over and grab him. And he pulls him back up. And as
Safe bridge. Solid wood. Nah, very funny.
Now I'm remembering the Phantom.
Fuck that movie. Make the kid drive the truck.
So once the professor's pulled back up, he sort of notices this stone knife on Magneto's belt.
Yeah, he's suddenly got this stone knife.
Yeah, we haven't got the origin for that. Where'd that come from?
Maybe he took it from one of the Pterodon riders that were attacking him.
Maybe he did. Maybe that's where the boomerang come from too.
Need to check that Leewald book. Where the boomerang come from? Tweet, I read your book. I still have a million unanswered questions.
First one, where the boomerang come from?
There's going to be a volume 2.
All the stuff we bring up in this show.
Yeah, excellent. Hope they're listening because we got questions still. Questions, Leewald. So he takes the knife.
So of course he uses the knife, cuts the bridge, and the Indiana Jones music plays, and he comes flying across to the other side.
Prepare to meet Kali in hell. What are you doing? Oh my God! Is he nuts? Play the whole movie. He no nuts. He's crazy.
And that's the Indiana Jones I know least about. That's my number 3 of Indiana Jones.
Really?
Yeah.
So you could probably still go quote for quote, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, but yeah, it's
you couldn't pull any from your own head.
It's Last Crusade, Raiders, then Temple of Doom.
So I think I know them all equally very well.
All right.
I think I do because, say, you would have watched Last Crusade over and over and over again,
Yeah.
Raiders over and over again, and Temple of Doom would have barely got any rewatch, right? Yeah, I've rewatched them all, so I loved them all.
I'd always get to parts in Temple of Doom and just go, what am I watching this again for?
Really?
The other ones, I'd be like, oh, this is awesome. And then this part's going to happen.
Oh, really? See, I've always got... when I'm watching Temple of Doom, I'm in. I'm in with everything. I don't know what... Even Spielberg hates it. He doesn't like it. It's like,
yeah, I don't.
Man, I still like Temple of Doom.
I always remember you told me that I ruined Raiders for you when I told you that goof.
Oh, yeah, you prick. Shall we ruin Raiders for the...
Yes, ruin for everyone.
When he's escaping from the... what the hell would you call the pit?
Map room, isn't it?
The map... No, it's not the map room. It's where the Ark was. Where the Ark was, they've just knocked through the wall, and all the snakes were, and Marion, he's pushing through that big stone block and struggling with it. Pushes it out of the way, and he's looking off in the distance, but if you look at the shadow of the stone block, it bounces like a fucking balloon. And I can only ever see that now. I think I blew up at you after I watched it. I think I was in high school. I said, coming to school next day, you prick, you son of a bitch. Now I'm only ever going to be able to see that goof. So now in IMDb and the movies, I avoid all the goofs just in case movies are ruined for me.
And this was well before the IMDb goof
Exactly
things.
right. You spotted that somehow and whatever, but now...
I watched it a lot.
I didn't even see that. I mean, to me, it sells how good an actor Harrison Ford is to get the weight of something
a foam brick,
of a foam
you guess.
brick. There's something like a blow-up exercise ball, and just sell the weight of it. But you think about the sound effects on that too. They put a heavy crunch noise underneath it, sound underneath the block, all pissed away into the wind. Now that I can see the shadow bouncing around, I'm just glad that Spielberg didn't go back and digitally erase the bounce of the shadow. Spielberg, if
he's not George Lucas.
Don't George Lucas it up. Keep the goof in there, and Brooksy, don't mention any other goofs to me. Now, where the fuck were we up to before we got into that? The bridge just went down.
That's
Temple
right.
of Doom there in the water.
They swung across to the other side of the ravine. And they both drop from the bridge, and then there is a track there suddenly that appears that they just land on.
Okay.
And they look back up at Vertigo before walking away, and Vertigo says,
"You will never leave here alive. Never."
And then that's it for Savage Land for that episode.
So I could have gone even further with the Temple of Doom quotes. I would have gone to, "The stones are mine." Tell you what, if I was a director at this time, you could not control me to get as many Temple of Doom references in there.
Short round to show up.
Yes. Could Magneto have a bag with stones in it and just have it fall out like eggs? That could be like pteranodon eggs that they're going to eat for later, and they're upset that they drop the eggs into the water or whatever. But
can the professor have a whip?
Good stuff. But yeah, this Savage Land is just in there to remind you that Magneto and Charles are still in the Savage Land.
Yep.
And I think it really sort of hampers the Wolverine story that we're getting. Same with the X-Men, the remaining X-Men trying to find the Professor and with using Cerebro. That just takes away from the Wolverine storyline. And does it need to be there? No. We could have got this as a separate standalone Wolverine story with no sort of B plotline, maybe later on in the series when Savage Land is over. But this is really what Kimberly talked about in last podcast. She prefers the main story. I prefer the one-offs, and when you're having like flashes of the Savage Land, it sort of gets in the way for me. This is what ruins the standalone story aspect of this. But
it is like that for all of season 2. Like, you've just got those little Savage Land bits all the way through. That's the only thing tying the whole season together. Most of them are just standalone stories of just different people. You got a lot of the backstories of all the characters. Like you got Beast, Rogue, Gambit.
Oh, that's
with
right.
Wolverine.
That's making sense now.
Yeah, so you got a lot of them, and the only thing tying them all together is that Savage Land story, where the first season was all back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
Very serialized.
For better or for worse, that's what we're stuck with.
So we get back to the lab here, and Wolverine's still strapped to the table. And then Heather starts to scan Wolverine's body with this big laser thing. And it's similar to the Muir Island thing. They love these big lasers come down from the roof.
From the gantry. Sensor scanning initiated.
So yeah, it's sensor scanning initiated. Starts flashing up really bright light on him. Wolverine's like, thanks for the light, kid. I could use a good tan.
I nearly had a seizure during this bit. I was about to fit out. I had to look away. I don't know how I took it as a kid.
And Wolverine's clearly in pain. He's screaming. And this is when Jean picks it up on Cerebro. And so, yeah, she must be still sitting there scanning. And she says that she could feel his pain. He must be in so much pain. And Gambit's like, man's been in pain since the get-to, shout.
Ha ha, Gambit.
But yeah, Jean can't locate him because the vision is too vague. Fuck, Jean is hopeless.
Well, how's she supposed to track down the professor if in the Savage Land if she can't track down Wolverine in Canada?
When he's screaming in pain.
It's just up the road, Canada. I mean, what hope does she have? I mean, yeah, that's why I thought that this little run, the B storyline, and the Savage Land is the C storyline. Just get rid of them. It's getting in the way.
So just outside the lab, we've got the rest of Alpha Flight sort of listening in. They're trying to find out what's going on in the lab. And then Heather says, that's enough, as Wolverine's clearly in pain, screaming and that, so she turns it off.
In a bad way.
So Chasen tells her to continue, but she argues that she scanned as deep as they can go and they've learnt nothing. She also gives him a glass of water here, and then she leaves the water on top of the computer. Chasen decides that they should remove Wolverine's skeleton and learn secrets. It's like, well, plan B is just chop out his skeleton.
Not deep enough. Get his skeleton out.
And then Heather says, are you crazy? He's not just some animal you can cut apart. Wolverine's still shackled to the table here. He goes, hey, Chasen, you want my bones? Come and get them yourself. And pops claws again. Number 11.
Yeah, I like it.
And Wolverine, Heather then agrees with Wolverine, and she tells Chasen that she's quit.
Whoa.
She rips off her ID badge, throws it at him.
What's the lanyard? Takes the lanyard off and
That's
chucks
right.
it right in his face.
And Vindicator tries to reason with her, but she says that it's wrong. And then outside, Snowbird transforms into a bird and flies in through the air vent to see what's going on inside.
I thought that's all she had, so I thought it was a very specific. She could only turn into an owl.
Only turn into Snowbird?
Yeah, so I was like, that's a very odd power to be in this team. I wrote down she's an animorph. There's so many animorphs. Each team has its own animorph, I figure.
Just a snowy animorph. So then Chasen, Vindicator, and Heather start struggling, and then Chasen bumps a glass of water and it goes all over the computer. So everything's sparking, and then even Wolverine's restraints start to spark.
That seems to be the easy way out. Just destroy the computer and that affects the shackles.
And then Chasen orders Vindicator to remove Wolverine's skeleton.
I want that skeleton now.
Vindicator, get it for me.
All right, Vindicator, I want that skeleton now.
Open him up. What do you mean open him up? There's those tin of beans. Little Snatch reference for you.
And then Wolverine says, what's the matter, old pal? Forgot your pocket knife? And Vindicator yells at Wolverine that they saved him and gave him his life back. And how could he leave us? He's still stuck on this. You left me before.
He was in a really strong bromance with Wolverine that was not reciprocated.
Wolverine's like, so I could be your weapon? Sorry, James. And this is when the rest of our Flight crash through the door and come into the lab.
Because they've heard enough.
Puck explains that the general told them they were getting Wolverine back so he could work with them, not to rip out his fucking skeleton.
Go Puck yourself, General.
Puck you, miss. So Jason pulls out his walkie and calls the security on them. Like, come on, man, it's Alpha Flight. Do you call security on the Avengers? No, you idiot.
General's responsible for Alpha Flight. Does he really think that the security is going to put a dent in Alpha Flight? One's a fucking Sasquatch.
Especially these terrible purple and yellow suited friggin' android things.
The android Sekis.
So they come running in. Puck knocks one to the ground. The top of his head falls off. And Puck's like, hey, these guys aren't even human. They're androids. Which means, oh yeah, we're going to see some damage to robots again.
Robots are going to get it.
So Sasquatch is like, oh, this is going to be fun. Starts nailing them.
I reckon Sasquatch should have been even meaner to these robots. I mean, there's this the new game of Doom. Once you become the demon, you can go around getting these glory kills. What the demon does, grabs the character by both of the legs and pulls them apart at the groin. Sasquatch should have been doing that stuff. That would have been absolutely hilarious. Can't say nothing about it. They're robots.
That's right.
He should have messed them up way worse than he did.
I like the idea of like pulling an arm off and then nailing another one with the arm. That's cool. So Wolverine manages to bust out of his arm restraints here before he pops claws for the 12th time and then cuts his leg ones off. Yeah. And you're like, oh, careful. Just
mind your ankle.
So Alpha Flight continue to fight the androids. Like Snowbird takes the head off one of them. Then she morphs into a wolf.
Yeah, I saw the dire wolf when she morphed into her. That's when I realized, oh, she's an animal. She doesn't just turn into owls. She turns into all the snow animals. So the field mouse, an owl, and a wolf. Can't think of any others.
And North Star and them blast a couple from the air, and Sasquatch then gets hit with a laser gun. And then the big side of the lab gets knocked off again. This happens a lot.
A big hole gets blown into the side of the lab. I thought, that's a cool little callback to the original lab breakout.
And Wolverine sort of makes a run for this hole. And then Vindicator flies in front of him and tells him that he's not going.
Doesn't he lead with traitor? Does he lead with that? Because I wrote it down. He called him out as a traitor.
All right.
Which means I think they love saying that line, but you're going against the man who made the line his own bishop. You're not going to come close to getting that same sort of prestige. But I did note that Vindicator did call him a traitor.
So as Wolverine's running over to this hole, you get this first-person claw draw. Did you notice that one?
No, I'd missed that.
It's just his arms in front. Bang, claw draw.
Oh,
it's
okay.
13th one. He's like, out of my way. And then Wolverine and Vindicator sort of tussle before he throws Vindicator into one of the androids, which disables his force field. And then Wolverine's just about to straight up murder him. And then Heather rushes over. She's like, no.
Our first denied claw attack in a while, I'd say.
There we go. And then she says,
you cared for me once. If you still do, let my husband go. I still love him.
This time, for you. But if any of you ever comes after me again, for any reason, all bets are off.
So, I'll give you my thoughts straight up. I think with Len Wein coming in, Len Wein coming into this one, he's brought in a totally different perspective, I think. And the weakest parts of the episodes, I think, were mandated that he must show Savage Land and the other X-Men. Because in the comic books, I'm almost certain this would have just been a Wolverine storyline. And I think had they give him the chance to just tell a Wolverine story, this one could have been really good. It would have had time to flesh out the relationship between Wolverine and Heather, and talk about other interesting stuff. But because he had to follow the sort of the format of the show, I think it's not as strong as it could have been. But I really dig on what they were trying to do with this episode. I think the only thing is just time. We just need a little bit more time to really flesh out the story. Maybe explain why Vindicator is so in love with Wolverine here.
Yeah, why Wolverine left.
And why a real solid reason why Wolverine left. I mean, I don't think we see Alpha Flight again unless it's in flashbacks or something like that. But I think they're an interesting sort of team to have, and a sort of a good sort of relationship that we can witness between Wolverine and the rest of them. Say if they would have broed down. I mean, Wolverine's friends with in X-Men. Wolverine's friends with Beast, and he's button heads with Cyclops. I would have liked to have seen the equivalent in Alpha Flight. I mean, yes, they would have been Wolverine and Vindicator would have been close, but would he have had another best friend in Sasquatch or whatever, and Medicine Man, Shaman or whatever. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a pretty interesting episode.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. There was a lot of those different feels with those different sort of. I call them comic book style sort of frames.
The frames and the compositions, yeah.
But yeah, it felt that you definitely felt that this was a different writer.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that too, because this one really stands out in writing in terms. You could really sort of feel it, like, hey, this. Now that as a kid, probably wouldn't have known at all. But now I'm watching it, comparing to all the other episodes we've seen before. This one's got a different feel to it. All Up's got a different feel.
So, what was your favourite part?
Favourite part, I really enjoyed all the flashback stuff. I think I've got to say my favourite part is the breakout, and when we see Wolverine get his claws for the first time, get the adamantium for the first time, because it's really an iconic scene. Yep. They call back on later and later and later, and whenever I think about the Weapon X program, the first shot of Wolverine getting put into the tank, the air oxygen mask going on his face, and then the Weapon X helmet over his eyes. That's a very iconic imagery for me for whenever I thought of Weapon X as a kid. So that was my favourite part. But I'll say that my favourite line... I'd say my favourite line is the one where Wolverine says, "You can send every mutant in Canada after me, I ain't coming back."
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's such a badass line, and really strengthens Wolverine's resolve that he dead set wants absolutely nothing to do with Alpha Flight. Send every mutant in Canada after me, I ain't coming back. I really dug that line, and you can really see that Len Wein loves the Wolverine character and was going to do him justice, giving him a ton of badass lines and cool moments, and really sell his sort of dark sense of humour that even when he's being tortured, he can make fun of other people and that sort of thing. So, yeah. What about you? What's your favourite bit, Brooks?
My favourite part is all these new claw drawers. So the overface one, the first person one, all those sort of cool things. Yeah, that's my favourite part.
The unique way of showing a claw draw. That's cool.
Because, yeah, we did get 13 this time. So, yeah, we got plenty of different ways to get a claw draw. And my favourite quote was "I survived it because I'm a mutant, you dimwit." Because Chasen is a dimwit.
I think they're finding new PG words that Wolverine can use to call people. So they're breaking out the dimwit.
So how do you rate this one?
See, this isn't... I mean, watching it tonight and really seeing like what the potential that this episode could have had to elevate it to greatness, it just really sort of makes me think, this was a bit of a missed opportunity. Having said that, I really enjoyed it. So I'll have to give this one a 6.5 out of 10, because what would have tipped it over the top to make it an 8 or a 9 for me, really forget about the B and C storyline with the Savage Land and Jean searching for the professor.
Being hopeless
and crap at a job of being a psychic, and just really 100% double down focus on telling a Wolverine origin story with the flashback and everything. I would have really liked that, and maybe a bit more Wolverine action just to see and really build on the relationship that he would have had with Heather. That would have really tipped it, make it an X-Men Origins Wolverine for the animated series, because that would have been really cool. I would have liked that. That would have given an 8 or a 9 for me. So I see this as a sort of a missed opportunity to be brilliant. What would you rate this one?
7.5.
7.5. What's holding it back from being an 8 or a 9 for you, Brooks?
I don't know. Yeah.
Don't know. There's nothing.
No, nothing's really holding it back. I think that's just where it sits. It's a solid episode, but yeah, it's not. I don't rate it 9 or 10.
It didn't have. There's a few badass moments, a few funny moments, but not really funny, and cool imagery. You got the new claw draws, but nothing super iconic other than that. So, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, that's where it sits for me. 7.5.
So how is this episode ranked on IMDb? What do the masses think of this episode?
They've given it a 7.7.
Oh, So yeah, it's probably thinking what you're thinking. It's a sort of semi-solid sort of episode. They got what they needed, but didn't know what would make it better. So that's it. It's a fair call. Maybe I'm being harsh because I don't give things 7s, but yeah, I'm still sticking to 6.5, 6.5.
You and what army? No more labs. What have you done to... Extraordinary.
All right, it's tally time, and we've mentioned earlier in the episode how many claw draws, but really cement it for us. How many have we got?
13.
Is that record breaking?
That's
Brooksy?
a record.
I reckon that's going to be a hard one to top, because even watching it tonight, it's like you could see like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. Ooh, we've got another one there for no reason. I don't think we're topping this. No way.
So the 13 plus the 19 we've got in the last couple of episodes is 32 for the season, plus the 44 from the first season is 76.
So all the episodes leading up to this one there was 19, and this
season
was 19, and this episode alone is 13.
Yes.
6 more, he would have done more in this one episode than the previous, however many there were.
On your Len.
On your Len.
So yeah. Also, there was no beast quotes, but also I have found by reading this new previously on X-Men book that all beast quotes are in the book. So there's no more homework for me for beast quotes. That was a great read for me. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. They're all there.
So the Leewolds are looking after you for that one. That was just really cool too. I mean, I like that in the cartoon Beast is having all these quotes so people can gain an interest in philosophy. But now that they've gone the extra mile and written it down in the book so they can chase it down even easier. So that's pretty cool. Good on you, Leewolds.
So Jean didn't manage to faint,
no.
Even though she was terrible at...
She almost fainted.
Yeah, if she had found him, she definitely would have fainted. So she's still at 1 for that. And no bubs.
Oh, in a Wolverine
episode, no bubs.
Len Wein written episode, no bubs.
And only 1 A. And Noah Boots.
I don't know if we should keep track of it, but this is 1 denied claw attack.
Yeah.
I remember them being so much more. I think the only other one I can remember is... Oh no, he did it with Bishop in Days of Future Past. He's about to stab him, and then in Night of the Sentinels when he's about to stab him off. So, could tentatively say that this is the 3rd denied claw attack.
I think so.
I don't think there have been any others.
How about any sound effects? Did you catch any of this episode?
None that we haven't already heard before. I heard a Terminator 2 grenade launch explosion, and whenever the big scanning arm comes down, another RoboCop sound effect. So just 2 there, but nothing new. No new plagiarized sound effects. All right, it's time for shout-outs and mailbag. You got one for us, Brooks?
We got another iTunes review.
Oh, really?
We do.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You never messaged me when we get a new iTunes review.
Because I like to surprise you.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm surprised. Let's hear it.
This is from a Diana Prince 13.
Wonder Woman, she's listening.
It is Wonder Woman.
On your Wonder Woman. She must have saw the rogue thing that I did. On your Diana Prince.
So it says, I grew up with this show and began listening to these fellas. Not safe for kiddos if you're trying to avoid adult language, but these guys are just my speed.
I doubt any kids would want to listen to two Aussies talk about an X-Men cartoon show they've never ever seen before.
She says, even when I disagree with their opinions, I'm laughing too hard to care.
Yes! Oh, good. She's having a laugh, like I say in the intro.
She says, the sound effects they do are hilarious. And as a Rogue fan, I agree. Rogue is very sexy.
Yeah.
Keep up the laughs, fellas. I'm definitely along for the ride.
Thanks, Diana Prince 13. That's awesome. And let us know what you disagree with. I'd love to see where we've been contrary to our other people's opinions. That'd be really neat. So I have to look up that review now. So yeah, keep the reviews coming in. I should mention we've got an average star rating now, but don't let that you viewers stop from adding even more stars to us.
That's on the Aussie one.
Oh, is it on the Aussie one, is it?
On the American one, we got a few reviews, but not enough stars yet.
All right, Americans. I know you're all listening because you're taking up like 53% of our listening audience. So keep those star reviews coming, even written ones. I love hearing them.
Yeah,
it's
the written
really
ones are
neat.
cool.
I love it.
And we'll read them all out.
Real quick, Brooksy, what do you think of Last Jedi? Ooh. I didn't get to see it with you because I wanted to see it with my old man because we saw Force Awakens together, we saw Rogue One together, and I thought, we'll keep it as
Hell, we saw the first 3 together too, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. Oh, me and the fellas?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we all did.
At least a lot, 2
not
and
the
3.
first 3, the prequel 3.
Episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, we saw those. It was going to be like a tradition thing. But, I decided to go see it with the old man. I missed out seeing it with you guys, but I remember coming back after I seen it and having a chat with Lawley about it. Did not dig it. He didn't like it at all, not as much as Force Awakens or... I know he old didn't like Rogue One.
No.
What do you think of Last Jedi?
It just didn't feel like a Star Wars
like
movie to me.
Mm.
It's not a bad movie.
That's
like,
right,
It looks great and all that sort of stuff. It's just... It's not what you come to expect from a Star Wars story.
To me, I think they're at the point where they're any further and they'll be taking it into a piss take because General Hux to me felt like General Daffy Hux. I mean, he was getting punked by anyone. He would not feel out of place in a Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoon. He's doing the same thing to Bugs Bunny and he just keeps getting punked. He felt like Wile E. Coyote and the Alliance or the Rebels were like the Roadrunner.
Yeah.
And he was just getting screwed over.
Same with
by
Phasma.
everybody. And Phasma, she
keep bringing her back. Same thing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing. She doesn't have any sort of fight. It's just this little shit thing gone. What? Why?
I mean, an overall problem that I have with we're going to sound like haters, with the overall new episodes of Star Wars, they're taking characters that we've grown up with, like Luke and Han, and we've been watching for years, decades now.
Yeah.
And killing them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, well, Han Solo, he's this big hero. He come back, showed that he had a heart, and then he sacrificed himself, and then he's thawed out, and now he's with Leia, dead. He just went back to being a dickhead, and now he's dead. Luke Skywalker, he's learnt so much. He's beat his dad. He's turned his dad to the light side. Now he's a recluse who's given up on the Force, and now he's dead. You know, it's like, what are you doing, man? It's like we've grown up with these guys. We're ready to see their next step.
Yeah.
I'm not here to see Rey or Finn or Poe. I mean, they're for this generation. So if you look at it like that, I think fans of the original trilogy are sort of, I don't know, getting sort of brushed aside just so we could build up new fans. And for it's almost like these new films aren't for us.
Yeah.
They're for the next generation. Kind of like Episode 1 to 3, the prequels. They're not for us. They're for the generation before us, even though we can see it. And we grew up with the original trilogy. So for me, I think, I don't know. And they're not, like you said, they're not feeling like Star Wars. Like they're Star Wars because they've got Star Wars written on them at the start. You've got the opening crawl, lightsabers, AT-ATs, nods to Jedis and Sith and that sort of thing. But they don't feel like what I'd come to expect from a Star Wars. And after all these years, I think fans are building up expectations as to what they want to see, where these characters want to go. Like, okay, Luke Skywalker's back. He's going to have all these powers. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to act a certain way. And they totally went the opposite, which I understand why they did, because who wants to just get what they expect? I mean, but with these Star Wars, you do sort of want to see Luke being Luke and Han being Han and Leia being Leia and getting all the cool stuff that I liked in the originals. But they really went against type in this one.
Oh yeah, it's like they wanted to. That was what they were going for.
Yeah.
And for me, the other thing was answers. You come in for this with so many questions they could have answered.
Yeah, who's Snoke? Where did the lightsaber come from? Who raised parents?
None of them you got an answer to. They're just terrible. Oh, that doesn't even matter. It's like, no, it does fucking matter. Like,
you made us believe it matters.
Yeah, exactly. And then they built it up, and they're like, oh, that's just nothing. And it's like that's what killed it too. It's like you come out of it going, oh, that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted an answer. Like, it doesn't matter what answer it was. I just wanted one.
I want something.
Yeah. And like, are they going to change that again in the next one?
I think. Well, the first one was written by J.J. Abrams. This one was written by Rian Johnson. I think Rian Johnson just totally reboot. It's like a reboot in the middle of a reboot. You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to answer the lightsaber. I'm not going to answer Snoke. I'm just going to punk kill him off. And
Not going to answer Rey's parents.
I'm not going to answer Rey's parents yet. If it was an answer, they said, well, they were just drunks.
Yeah.
It's coming from Kylo Ren, so it could be bullshit.
And then they showed Sweeping Boy at the end.
And the subtext, the casino, I could have gone with that.
Man.
That didn't belong there.
The whole story, it didn't make sense. They made half the movie about something that if the stupid woman from Jurassic Park had told them what her plan was from the start, the movie would have been over in 20 minutes. But you want to start nitpicking? How about the stupid bomb ship? How do you drop bombs in space, mate? They go
Zero
everywhere.
gravity.
You idiots. And then you got the friggin', we can't go into light speed, we're just going to cruise away. The other one's like, we'll just cruise behind them. Mate, you can go into light speed. Go into light speed for a second. You'll be right next to them. And then you can shoot the shit out of them. This thing's fucking terrible. Don't start me nitpicking.
It reminded me of the Go-Go Bronco chase in South Park when Cartman and Kenny are slowly getting away from the cops and they're just slowly trailing. It's like, really, this is Star Wars.
Yeah,
this is the thrilling chase.
This is your empire.
It's not the Empire, the First Order. They can't even call them that yet. This is your big bad.
No, this is your empire, like the second movie. This is the empire of the second.
This is supposed to be Empire Strikes Back. No, this is Attack of the Clones. This is the sequel. I mean, yeah, I didn't enjoy. Like, still my favorite. Well, this is another segue. I really like Rogue One.
See, I didn't.
No one did.
No.
But I like Rogue One the best. I mean, but still, out of the new trilogy, I think I prefer Force Awakens. To Last Jedi. And like going in, we wanted answers and we had expectations of what we wanted to see. We wanted to see Luke Skywalker. Okay. Yep. Jedi Master. He's gonna teach Rey how to do this. He's gonna do the Karate Kid shit. He's going to hit her on the head like Pai Mei when she's being bad or whatever. He's going to have all these sort of Jedi chores.
And he's going to go down swinging.
He's going to go down swinging, not punk out like that. Like, even when they showed the X-Wing underwater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
I saw a Kevin Smith review. I was
He
goes, what do you go? He goes, I know what you're doing with this. So I'm going to make Jedi, he's going to rise that shit up. And they don't even do that. Because when I saw that in water, I had the same thing. He's going to bring that thing up. And like he's finally come full circle. He's going to do what Yoda did, and it's going to be cool. They didn't.
No.
They set us up only to fuck us over, but
and a lot of stupid goofs, like the throw the lightsaber away, and
as a
the
gag.
fucking milk thing. Like, what the
Again,
fuck was that?
It's on the point of parody.
Yeah,
he would just toss it over his shoulder, have him drinking the milk,
yeah.
and those little fucking nun things that are fixing up the Jedi ruins, and those porgs that are just puffins.
The new Ewoks.
New Ewoks. It's like, I've seen Bizarre Foods. Those are fucking puffins. Catch them with a fucking net. And I was getting mad. That doesn't cook brown. That cooks red. I've seen the puffins. Don't lie to me. But, I think, what's the new chick? I can't remember the new Asian chick's name. Hope. It's not Hope. It's something else.
I can't remember her name either.
Yeah,
I don't want to. That was stupid as well.
Finn, Poe, and the new character had nothing to do in this movie.
No.
If you get rid of what their whole arc was, it wouldn't affect the outcome in any way, shape, or form. I think he was Ryan Johnson only wrote that in because he had to. Otherwise, I think it's like the Len Wein thing. He only used those characters because they were there. I think what Ryan Johnson would have liked to do, just spend the whole movie with Rey, Luke, Kylo Ren, and that's about all I think that's all he wanted to talk about. Because everything else just felt like it was chucked in just to be chucked in.
Yeah.
I mean, and with Leia surviving, do you think, and with Leia surviving and Luke dying, do you think they fucked themselves?
Yep.
Because I'm sure, Luke dies in a heroic sacrifice when he sends out a hologram across the galaxies. Can the Force just do anything now? I thought it was just lifting rocks and reading minds.
That's not how the Force works.
Han said it the best. That's not how the Force works.
But it's the same in Rogue One. I'm the Force. I'm one with the Force.
The Force is with me. But he didn't really use the Force. He just thought he used the Force. But anyway, what was I saying again? Yeah, he just projects himself and he dies, fades away.
Yeah.
Like Yoda does or whatever, looking at the two suns. So I thought it was pretty neat, but And now that Leia's alive and the actress has passed away and Luke, the character's dead, I think the third one would have been Leia teaching Rey how to use the Force in this whole feminist sort of environment where empowering women. But now that Carrie Fisher's passed away, how are they going to deal with teaching Rey how to use the Force? But you did see when they're flying around the Millennium Falcon at the end of the movie, they see that Rey has stolen the Jedi textbooks in the Falcon there. So maybe they're going to lean like either she teaches herself and Leia maybe helps her, but how do you do it? I mean, episode 3, or 9, whatever up to, what's the opening crawl? 10 years have passed. Leia has taught Rey how to use the Force, and slowly she's died in her sleep.
And then she passed away.
she's died in her sleep, she fell on a thermal detonator, whatever, and then they tilt down, and what are we seeing? Rey's like a fully formed Jedi, kind of like Luke in Return of the Jedi, and she's just got all the powers ready to go. She's already built her new lightsaber. I mean, it's very tragic what happened to Leia, but with Carrie Fisher, but it's also tragic with what happened to the story. I'm sure they'll turn it around, make some sort of sense now that JJ's back in the thing. But I think with a lot of how they explained or unexplained or didn't explain in Last Jedi, the third part of the trilogy is going to have its work cut out for them and to sort of wrapping everything up because there's still so much shit that's haven't been there.
Yeah, it definitely lowers my expectation for number 3. I went into this one with nothing. I wanted them to take me somewhere, and I'm like, okay, what have you got for this? And I kept away from everything before I went and saw it.
Same here.
I watched the trailer. That was it.
I even tried to avoid the trailer because I don't want nothing spoiled for me.
Yeah.
I don't want nothing spoiled. But then I
didn't listen to any articles, no nothing. And I just went in and I watched it, and this isn't a Star Wars story. This is terrible. I don't like it.
This is not not my Star Wars.
Exactly. So the third one, it's back to the prequel level for me just going, what have you got? Okay.
See, my thing's the other way. My expectations are I'm so demanding. I was like, you better fix this up.
Yeah.
How are you going to write this ship? I mean, there's so much. The mood's got to come back, and then the story's got to be explained, and you've got to deliver on all this nostalgia that I was expecting to come out of Last Jedi by seeing Luke, and now he's dead. Maybe come back as a Force ghost, but it's just.
And I'm not interested for this Han Solo movie.
Did you know it's coming out in May?
It's coming out in May.
It's May, and there's not a touch of promotion.
Nothing.
It's like, is it? What the fuck? Secretly, I hope it's the start of the fall of Disney. It won't. They're too.
Don't worry. There's too many Marvel movies.
There's too many Marvels to keep them afloat.
$1 trillion.
But yeah, since the 21 Jump Street guys got kicked out of the Han Solo movie and Ron Howard's come in, we haven't heard shit from it. It's coming out in May. Was it? January, February, March, April, May. Less than about 4 months. Yeah. And we haven't heard a thing. All these other Star Warses, we've had trailers ahead for 12 months in advance. We've had trailers.
It's December every second year.
Yeah.
You know.
We know. It's like, and it just doesn't make sense that why is Han Solo being released in May? What Star Wars film are we going to get in December?
Yeah.
And because, or anything. I mean, the Black Panther's coming out in a couple of months. And Avengers halfway after that, and there's not going to be anything.
I think Avengers is May.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's what we're seeing for Avengers, and we're seeing nothing for Solo.
Oh, jeez. But they've got Disney have no big Marvel or Star Wars release coming out in December. Well, or maybe it will make us miss it. But either way, I think they're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that movie at all.
But one ending that I wanted, because traditionally with all the Star Wars is the last scene. There's no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
There's like let's do it in order, shall we? In Phantom Menace, then there's the Gungans are celebrating with going down the street, and then they're handed the orb. And in Attack of the Clones, Darth Vader's getting married. Anakin's getting married to Padme. In Revenge of the Sith, the Death Star's being built, and then Luke Skywalker's dropped off to Tatooine, and Leia's dropped off to whatever Alderaan.
Yeah.
And then in Hope and New Hope, or Star Wars, whatever you want to call it, they're getting the award ceremony. In Empire, Luke's getting his new hand sewed on, and they're looking out in the stars. In Return of the Jedi, it's Yub Nub. At the end of Force Awakens, it's Rey walking up and giving the lightsaber to Luke, all without dialogue. In Last Jedi, there's a scene where she lifts the rocks and they're on the Millennium Falcon talking, and then they shoot off in the light speed. And then they go to the kid, the slave kid who's brooming, and they're talking about the rebels.
Yeah.
And then he sweeps up for a little bit, and it's just it's a moment of silence. I think with Star Wars, you need to keep up with that giant, the whole last scene needs to be silent, no talking or whatever. The scene I would have liked in Last Jedi, do all what you did, exactly how you did it, but have Luke Skywalker survive. He's projected himself out, and now he's the Jedi Knight that he's supposed to be. Now he's ready to go. He gets into his cool Jedi outfit. He starts packing all his shit. He gets his green lightsaber out, locks it up, walks down all the way down to the X-Wing that's in the water. Then we see him start it up. And just as it's rising up and it's looking magnificent, then you cut to black doing a da-da-dun-da-dun-da-da-da-da. That's how they should have closed out Last Jedi. As much as I admire them doing something different and keeping me guessing, like I didn't predict half the shit. It was so very... I didn't know what was coming. And most of the films you sort of know, films these days, you know what's coming. I didn't predict anything. None of my predictions came true in this one. Good on them for that. But I think with a Star Wars film, you have to sort of follow the rules, give the fans what they want, give them the scenes they want to see.
Yeah.
That's what they did with Force Awakens. That's what they didn't do with Last Jedi. I don't think there's a scene in this movie that I asked for. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like, you know, I would have liked to seen Luke training Rey how to do the lightsaber. Like, you know, when she's doing the stick practice, and then she picks up the lightsaber and she cuts the rock in half. Skywalker should have come down and said, "Oh, it's all very good, well and good, but rocks don't hit back." Green lightsaber comes out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like, then we get like him punking her like Pai Mei does to the bride. You know, I would have really loved to have seen that sort of. Yeah, it's cliche. Yeah, it's done before. Yeah, it's Rocky. Yeah, it's Karate Kid. Yeah, it's Empire Strikes Back. But fucking,
it's Star Wars.
It's Star Wars. I'm watching Star Wars. Give me that scene. Give me that scene that I want. I wanted that, and they denied me that. I don't think. Yeah. What do you think of Yoda coming back? This has turned into a very quick last thoughts. But anyway, real quick, what do you think of Yoda coming back?
I didn't like it.
Didn't like it?
Nope.
See, I wanted to like it, but I didn't like it either.
No. Yeah.
He comes up, he's looking more like the Yoda that we're used to. He's not doing somersaults with a lightsaber or anything. Yeah, he sets fire to the tent and burns down the stuff. The tree, and calls him young Skywalker like he always does. Yes, it was good seeing Yoda, but it just sort of felt like, are we just throwing him in there just to be there? Could we have picked a better time to use him? I don't know. It just felt like... This felt like fan service just done for fan service, you know what I mean? I think we just pick your spots a bit better than that. But yeah, who are we to say anything? I mean, it's made $1 billion worldwide, but it hasn't made the $2 billion worldwide that Force Awakens made.
And it won't.
And general consensus with all the people that I've talked to, they like Force Awakens better.
Yeah.
And Last Jedi, I mean, it is a very polarizing film. I mean, usually with the Star Wars... New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi. Everyone loves Star Wars. Everyone loves Empire. Most people don't like Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But they're all sort of good, and no one likes the prequels. With this one, it's such a 50-50 whether people liked it or hated it. And I don't know. Maybe Star Wars are supposed to be universally loved. That's why you follow the pattern, follow the formula that works. That's what Marvel films are doing.
Yeah.
They're not changing a fucking thing. Imagine if they did that with Tony Stark. So he doesn't get in the suit at all, or Captain America suddenly becomes bad, or he just stops caring, and all this sort of stuff that changes so much about the characters. I mean, going way back to Freddy vs. Jason, that's why that worked. Freddy was being Freddy, Jason was being Jason, and all the fans of the originals were digging it. With Last Jedi, I think they changed too much, pushed it into directions that were unfamiliar, And that's why I think there's a disconnect with what the traditional, I don't know, other Star Wars fans really liked. I mean, the Star Wars apologists will say, oh, it's great. It's the greatest thing ever because they just love eat, breathe, sleep Star Wars. That's the greatest ever. But people who aren't the apologists, who will give an honest general opinion, will say that something was missing from it. To talk about the plus side, I really like the visuals. It's still all very well done.
Yeah.
I liked the Snoke's hideout, the completely red walls and the contrast between him and the red walls and Kylo Ren. That felt like I was watching like a samurai movie or something. When he bowed down with the cape and everything, I thought, man, this is cool. This reminded me of like Shogun and The Last Samurai, just those real high contrast styles, and Samurai Jack. I really like the visuals of this movie. Everything was done really cool, like when they're floating around on the sand plains and they're kicking up the red dust. Yeah, that's cool. That's all well and good. Lightsaber stuff's great. Music, John Williams. That music is still solid as. I mean, I love hearing his stuff. That was what sounded most like Star Wars to me. That's what made it feel a little bit like Star Wars, is the music really tying it all together. Wasn't as many new themes as the other one. I mean, with Force Awakens, they've got Rey's theme, and then the Kylo Ren theme. But they didn't introduce any new ones. I mean, with New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, they had a new, fresh theme every time. With this one, they still sort of feeling a bit nostalgic, like when the Millennium Falcon was flying through all the salt mines, they played like music from Return of the Jedi when they was blowing up the Death Star. I thought that was cool, but there wasn't enough new themes, I thought. But those are that's the good in Last Jedi, is that I think it looked and the music felt like Star Wars. Everything else, I didn't care for the story or the characters. I wasn't behind anybody. You know, in some movies you're like, that's my guy, hope nothing happens to him. I didn't feel that way about anybody. I didn't have a connection with anyone except General Hux. I just felt sorry for him. It's like, kill him, Hux. Take your fucking empire back, and then people start listening to you. But everyone else I could give a toss about. I don't care about Finn. I don't know the Asian lady's name, so I don't care about her. Rey, I know she's coming out on top. It's fine. Kylo Ren, let's see what happens. But
You got rid of that mask.
Got rid of the mask. That's another fuck you to the other film. They made it a big deal, and that's his thing, but they just got rid of it. I mean, would have been interesting.
You even got rid of his scar.
Oh, yeah. It just went away, so he's not looking any different now. He's like, it's just as is. I mean, I think when Rey and him teamed up together, I thought that was an interesting scene. But it would have been, I don't know, would have been more interesting if they both turned or something, and then have them both turn to the dark side, and Luke Skywalker comes back and has to turn Rey, and just tries to turn Rey and Ben. Yeah, that's how I'd do it.
That's a better movie.
Make it, yes, stop writing better movies. Make Luke the hero of this third one, and have Rey and Kylo the bad guys, and just have him going against two. It's like, he could easily beat them one-on-one, but he can't beat two of them, so he has to be crafty that way. That's the movie right there. I mean, who am I? But that's how I do it. I do it differently.
We'll just have to wait and see.
We'll just have to wait and see what they come up with. I mean, they've got their work cut out for them, and hopefully it turns out all right, but they've got a whole year to do this, year and a half, I think. So we'll see what happens. Do you think Lando's coming back? Or is it the one black guy per franchise rule?
Yeah.
Well, Leia did put the call out to everybody else in the galaxy. It would be funny if Lando shows up. But I doubt it. No more Billy D. So that's it for our Star Wars thing. I may have to... It's running pretty long. I may have to cut it out and put it into its own little thing. But we'll see how it turns out, because we're running, an hour 40?
Right.
I might have to do it as its own little thing and see as a bonus or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see what works, see whatever you think.
Yep.
All right, it's time for our social media shout-outs. Rate and subscribe to us on iTunes and Podbean. You can also find us on Podcast Addict, Pocket Casters, and now Stitcher. If you're on iTunes, give us a star rating so we can have an average. I want to see how many stars we're worth. I'd like a written review as well, just to see what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, and what we could be doing better. Let us know. Like and share our page on Facebook at Generation X-Men. Share us to any X-Men fans who'd like to hear two Australians bang on about mutants for an hour. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GenXmenPod for some behind-the-scenes photos, videos, and Meme Monday. Or you can contact us via Facebook IM or by email generationxmenpodcast@gmail.com. So what's up for us next week, Brooks?
Next episode is number 19, Season 2, Episode 6, Externally Yours.
I think we're going to have to call in for some backup on this
one. The gambit.
I think it's time.
Teeves and the Tassins.
Teeves and the Tassins. Well, I don't remember this one being particularly good, so I think it's time to bring on a guest star. I'll hopefully we can get someone on real fast. If not, just be us. But I would like some backup on this one just to add an extra third opinion just to help ease the blow. Alright, that's it from us here at Generation X-Men. Hope you've had as much fun listening as we've had talking. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for your time and attention. Next week, we've got Externally Yours with Breakdown, Tally Time and Claw Draw. Like the Terminator, we'll be back, and we look forward to your company then. Thanks for hosting, Brooksy.
No worries, Bender. Take it easy, mate.
Bye-bye.
See ya.